Hey, it's Brian Walsh and welcome to number 6 in the 17 keys to entrepreneurial success. I'm in Disney World of all places, and maybe in the next video I'll show you a bit more recognizable area of Disney World, but I'm sitting here close to the resort that I'm staying next to this beautiful lake, and I wanted to sort of carry on from what we discussed in the previous video, which was the big, crazy, audacious goal, and I wanted to take it one step further. So once you've identified this big, crazy, audacious goal, this thing that's going to inspire you, this thing that's going to get you going every morning to go and do something and achieve something incredible with your life, once you've identified that, once that's become clear to you, I want you to sit down with a pen and paper and I want you to come up with the 5 major moves. All right, what do I mean by that? When we look at this massive outcome that we want to achieve in our lives at some stage, we now want to start identifying what are the critical things we need to do in order to move in that direction. So yes, you might come up with 10 or 15 moves that have to happen in order for you to eventually end up in that direction. But the thing is, you want to try and narrow it down to 5. All right, 5 critical moves that if you focused and achieved those particular moves in the next 6, 12, whatever months, you would dramatically shift towards that direction of what you want to achieve. And this is a very interesting exercise, because what so often happens is we want to shift something in our lives, but we don't get around to actually identifying what are the critical things. And as my good friend Brian Tracy always talks about what he calls the frogs, he says, what are the things that are going to ultimately create the greatest difference in your life or business if you had to achieve those things. So when Brian talks about it, he's normally talking about a day-by-day sort of planning process. When we look at it from the context of a crazy, massive, audacious goal that we want to achieve, we turn around and we say, what are the 5 things that are going to shift the needle the most? What are the 5 things that if we achieve them or focus on them, we're going to move the most towards achieving what we want to ultimately achieve in life? And identifying these 5 things is quite critical, and I want you to write them down. I want you to be very clear about what they are, because basically on the basis of those 5 things, every day, every week, we want to be checking what we're doing and asking ourselves, are we putting the energy and effort into those 5 critical things that are going to ultimately create the greatest impact towards achieving that big, crazy, audacious goal. So, from those 5 things, we'll talk later on about planning and creating a strategy around them, but ultimately, you want to identify those 5 things, okay? Because those 5 things become critical to everything that we do going forward. And later on, when we talk about planning, we'll talk about projects and we'll talk about critical 5 elements, or the 5 things that are going to move you the most towards achieving things like completing the project. So it becomes quite a critical component. But in this particular case, this becomes a major guiding force. So here's your big, crazy, audacious goal. What are the 5 critical things that are going to move you the most towards achieving that big and crazy, audacious goal? So please take time out. I promise you this is profoundly powerful, but you want to make sure you take time out to identify that big, crazy, audacious goal, and it must be crazy, like I said in the previous video. But then you want to take time out to say, what are the 5 things that will have the greatest impact towards achieving that goal as a whole? Alright guys, that's the key that I wanted to share with you today. I look forward to catching up with you on the next in the series of the 17 keys to entrepreneurial success. It's Brian Walsh. I'll catch you soon.